Dart's biggest stars line up for the game in the poker den. Joining them are two internet qualifiers looking for that final table seat and the £7,000 prize that comes with winning the table. The first of these online qualifiers hails from Canada. It's Gary McConnell. The world's best female darts player is here to show the boys how it's done. She's the women's world champion, and now she competes with the lads on the Aki. It's Russian Anastasia Dobromyslova. This Spanish professional darts player is the highest-ranking Spaniard on the PDC Order of Merit. He's notched up notable wins in the European and World Championships. This is Carlos Rodriguez. Nicknamed the Matador, this Dutchman is one of the most talented young players to emerge in darts in recent years. He's the youngest player ever to win a world title, Jelle Klaasen. The greatest darts player ever. He's dominated the game for 2 decades, winning 14 world championships, 75 other tournaments, more than any other player in darts history, Phil the Power Taylor. This online qualifier has 2 years poker experience. Qualifying here is his biggest achievement, London's Jason Brennan. And finally, one of the top darts players on the Australian Grand Prix circuit. He heads up the darts rankings down under, Newcastle-born Paul Nicholson. They've stepped up to the Aki in front of thousands, but how will they handle the pressure on the poker table? Let battle commence. Good evening and welcome to the darts heat of the Sports Star Challenge 4. Thrilled to be joined by Matt Broughton tonight. Evening, Matt.
Evening, Jesse.
Matt, a little bit of form here. A couple of these darts players have been here before. In fact, one of them, obviously, Phil Taylor. Probably not just the greatest darts player of all time, but one of the greatest sportsmen of all time, 14 world titles. But more importantly for this, Phil Taylor has played quite a bit of poker and has some success here.
Oh, yeah, he's going to be super comfortable here. I'm sure he's relishing this challenge, and he's going to be very comfortable indeed.
Chips on the table. The green chips are worth $25 each. The blue chips worth $50, and the red chips worth a blackbird or $100. There's $2,000 in front of every player.
You have to keep counting the cash out.
Now, Matt, this is real shootout format. This is fast. This is loose. This is aggressive. With 2,000 chips and the blind starting at 25 and 50, you're going to have to ram and jam. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that's why, the internet qualifiers, you can't look down on them, because this is probably more comfortable for them than the guys that are used to playing a lot more poker. It is going to be fast and furious. Aggression is always going to be the key in these formats. So we'll see who's got the goods.
So just sort of an early getting your feet wet period in this heat, Matt.
Yeah, well, I mean, for the players that are unfamiliar with this scenario, they just need to take it nice and slow, just get into a groove. This is the advantage that players like Phil will have, is that he's not going to have any nerves with the cameras and the lights and the focus. So nice raise.
This is the first we've heard of young James Brennan. I was talking to him earlier. He plays, this is his first time ever playing live, Matt, but he plays a lot on the internet, mostly in this shootout format. So he said if he can just get over his nerves.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I like the fact when asked who would you most like to beat, he said these 6 players. Other people were listing Helmuth and Ivy. No, he just wants to get through these guys here.
He reminds me a lot, this James Brennan, of sort of a young Greek fish.
I don't know if that's a good or bad thing to say.
It's good. It's very good. It's very good.
Just checking. Well, a piece of this for everyone.
Top pair v bottom pair.
Yeah, Jason's not gonna hold back.
And you gotta like the fact that Jelle Klaasen, he's looking at a couple flops. He's saying, this game is gonna allow me to look at some flops early. And now that he's missed, or basically missed, he's just not going to go any farther.
No, well, that's the thing, is some players might take a bet there, but you're out of position, so it makes your life so much harder, and it's why get yourself into trouble this early?
Jelle Klaasen there. He defected, as they say. He was the youngest ever world champion in the BDO, I think they call it, and now he's part of the PDC. As has Paul Nicholson. Those sunglasses Paul Nicholson wears, I'm to understand that he also wears them when he plays darts, which has really, been an affront to some of the old school darts players.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand it, when Doyle says, I want to see people's eyes, it's part of the game, but for darts, I'm trying to work out what disadvantage that might put against an opponent.
You've got to be able to stare them down. Nicholson has now just limped in with the ace-king. This could be a trap.
Yeah, well, I think with ace-king, you got to mix it up. I think if you always raise with it, then it's too easy for people to play back at you when there's a low flop. So I think 50-50 limp in, because that way if you miss it and it gets to be an expensive pot, you can let go of it. And if you hit, it's a well-disguised hand.
Now that it's been raised by Gary McConnell, and Nicholson doesn't know how strong Gary is, these chips could all be going in pre-flop.
I don't know. I don't know that if Paul's going to play that aggressively. I think he's out of position. I would certainly be tempted to take a look at the pot. I mean, Gary, we don't know much about him. He's not played many hands. He's obviously got some skills because he's managed to get himself onto this table. Now the fact that Jason has come in as well, maybe you wouldn't mind just bumping up some more chips here to make this heads up.
Cool.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, really.
Quite impressed there, actually. I think you're right that he's realized that Gary hasn't come all this way from Ontario not to raise the premium hand. A lot of players would have re-raised there.
Absolutely, absolutely. But, multi-way, I mean, here, you don't like that if you've got ace-king. And now if you do have to let it go, at least you've not put 500 chips out there. You can take a stance and get out of the way. It's a fantastic flop for Gary in some respects, but to a degree, you've got to check this round. You need someone to catch up. I think multi-way you can be a bit more sneaky.
He's bet 150.
I think these are the best two opponents to actually play into. I think Anastasia and Jelle and Carlos would fold very quickly unless they had a really big hit. So I think Gary's right to make a move here. I don't know. I think sometimes with a board as dry as that, you do need to give people a chance to catch up with you. You've got a pretty strong hand there.
James has got, a backdoor flush, backdoor straight draw, but I'm guessing that if he plays this hand any farther, he'd be planning on stealing it on certain kinds of turns.
Pass.
Strange little bet, that 150. It's like you want to find out where you are. You got his queen anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Pass.
That was very well reasoned by Paul Nicholson. He said, why would you bet so small, only a third of the pot? Either you got nothing or you got something very strong.
Yeah, I think maybe, Gary, there, you either bet out big to make it look like it's a continuation bet, or you check and hope someone catches up, because you've got such a strong hit there. To flop trip queens, you're very certain you're ahead.
Can I come up, play as well?
Gary McConnell there. Not only is it his first time playing on TV, it's his first time in the UK. So he's got a lot of new things to adjust to.
True, but I mean, he's been playing 10 years, so again, just because he's not familiar in this surrounding doesn't mean he's not going to know what to do. He'll know the strength of that hand, even though he's early to act. I think he's in a really good spot there. The fact that he's got Anastasia and Carlos behind him, who so far look like they're not likely to get involved unless they have a pretty solid hand.
Raise to 150.
Gary's going to be in position to pick up lots of blinds from the button.
Big poker scene in Toronto these days. Also, of course, some darts players from that area.
Pass.
John Part, I believe,
Pass.
Canadian.
Cool.
Well, Canada's a big country, but
It's a dangerous call, I think, from Phil there. It's a sort of call, if you get into the habit of calling too often with those marginal aces, if you are dominated, it's going to be quite expensive to work out that you're behind when the ace comes down. And kind of a cash call there from Paul, just take a look. If you hit big with the 8-10, then great. If you don't, you can get away.
4 ways for this flop. First 4-way flop we've seen tonight. And, a couple players will think they've got something. Couple straight draws out there. A lot of medium strength hands.
Yeah, absolutely. not surprised to see it go around that. I think Phil probably have a pop at this. I would be surprised if he doesn't.
This is what I should have said this before. I wish I had. Now I'm just going to sound like I'm talking after the fact. But Phil, instinctively, I think he's one of those players that knows position. He doesn't mind calling with all kinds of hands. If someone shows him weakness, it's like at the darts, at the ochre.
I've no idea.
You know what I mean. It's like on that ochre. He pounces on the okie.
Are you the okie? Listen, the okie, the okra? I thought you were trying to think of some location in Sweden.
I know how to spell it.
It doesn't sound how it looks.
Check.
I'll check.
Check.
I think Phil might have won that with a bet there, but it's understandable, just to check behind. He feels like he's got outs. That's a good card for him to get a cheap showdown with, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting that Gary chose not to bet on the turn there, because if his opponent is drawing, he's giving him the free card. Gary can't know that doesn't hit his opponent. I don't think there's a lot of value in betting here.
400.
It's one of those questions where you say what hand better than his is going to fold and what hand worse is going to call. Is that you're just praying that someone convinces themselves you've got exactly, Jack 10, Queen 10, something up there, the Broadway cards, maybe you've made the straight. A lot of the time you're unlikely to make a lot of money out of it, other than getting the best hand to fold. It works through.
If you are going to bet big.
Yeah.
And Phil Taylor never errs in that department. Shove him on in there. Take the pot down. That's the power.
Yeah, I think a lot of other players might well have just called down there just to try and learn a bit from Phil, but his timing was great. The fact that he called the move before from Gary showed strength. Gary kind of kicked into reverse and Phil took over.
Welcome back, Matt. Phil Taylor, and he's been here before.
Phil is definitely going to be one of the players who pounces on any opportunity, whether that's because of the cards or the board. He'll get stuck in when he thinks he can win a pot.
If I'm not mistaken, I seem to remember a heat where Phil Taylor took Ian Fraser, the Razor, off some huge holdings. I don't want to say he made him cry, because I've never seen Ian Fraser cry, but he certainly took him off some hands.
Call.
Oh, just a sneaky flat call from Phil.
That is sneaky.
It is sneaky. I mean, there's a few players still to act, but I mean, you'd love it if somebody raised here and you could drop the hammer, but
I seem to remember Phil in the last Sports Stars Challenge.
Pass.
He made a flush on the river against Peter Manley, who had made flopped a full house, and that's how he ended up losing his chips. Didn't really get to show all the breadth of his game last year, but he does have a lot of moves.
A little bit worried about Paul's call here. Is in a small blind. I mean, that's the problem for Phil by not raising, is that you do allow people to come in cheap. The 4-9. If the flush came down here, it'd be very hard to get away from. That's pretty safe.
But it's scary if you got two black aces.
Absolutely. Is Phil's going to need to pounce on this? It'd be great if Gary could bet out here. It would really put Phil on the back foot. So, you've connected. I'm surprised that he doesn't bet there, because there's only a specific bunch of hands that can call with such a scary.
And he shows them.
Yeah.
Have a load of that, boys.
He moved.
And ladies.
I didn't like them diamonds, though.
No, you called it.
They come out. One of my cards is a diamond, I was calling. Hey? One of my cards is a diamond, I would have called it. Well, I know I've got two aces, like one be a diamond. Black.
Jelle Klaasen, I feel like he must have spent a lot of time over on this side of the channel, because it's not a Dutch accent he has. He certainly got a bit of the Londoner in his voice, doesn't he?
Call. Call.
Well, a few two in. I'm so good me going, is it?
Just a flat call, I think that was from Jelle there with the ace jack.
I've only got a pair of aces.
really the Netherlands just storming in the poker world. I mean, you talk about the big tournaments in Europe lately, the EPT Grand Final, the EPT San Remo, all
Yeah.
won by young Dutch players.
How much is it? Just
50 to call.
Brennan, it was funny talking to him. You couldn't tell if he was more awed by just
Raise to
being able to
150.
play poker on TV or by playing against some of
140,
his sporting heroes. And either way, I kind of like what the game he's brought to the table tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, we know this format. Aggression is going to win lots and lots of pots that people don't want. The ace-jack, you know, Jelle decided not to raise up with it, so Brennan steps in. And now if Gary gets involved, well, now the ace-jack, if you didn't like it enough to raise, well, you're probably going to end up folding it because you're just worried about being dominated.
I mean, from James' point of view, this is like an isolation raise, right? He's seen Jelle limp a couple times. He doesn't know Jelle's this strong.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I mean, this is
Call.
just a quick call there, a real
Call.
quick call. Knows that it's a strong hand, knows that it's a drawing hand. Unlikely to manage to squeeze everyone off this.
See, you've started.
We are 5 ways. If the case queen hits the board, the table's gonna rumble.
I bet Jason's wondering, why on earth did I raise with his queen 9? Because he looked like he was ready to let it go and then thought better of it. How incredible. It's just flown by everybody.
First to bet.
Check. Check.
Who will be
Check.
the first to bet?
Check.
750 out there. But you wouldn't blame him for shutting down, would you?
No, I mean, and Jason is so aware that, well, I raised here. I mean, it's come around to me. Surprised that Gary didn't try and push out with the 7s, because it's the sort of ball that you can only connect with one way, and if you've got lots of drawing hands or other pairs, they won't like the 10s. But he's let it through, and I hope Jason makes this substantial. You know, 750 in the pot, 450, 500 upwards would get the job done here, I think, here.
That's a big percentage of his stack. This is gutsy
Good.
stuff.
It's you know, it's great instinct and it's a total appreciation of the situation.
I don't know if Gary can call here. There's 3 players to act behind him.
No, well, that's why I'm surprised. You know, that's why I say, you know, if Gary had wanted to bet, well, then it would be very hard for anybody else to call. Good on Jason for, you know, he looked like he was going to fold the hand. He thought better of it. Thought, no, it's come round to me. I should be raising here. And now he has the momentum that says I can only get called by someone with a 10, or someone who thinks that I'm on a complete move.
He is a man with a plan, this Jason Brennan.
Fantastic.
And he stuck to his guns. He said, I'm bluffing, dry boards. It came like that. Hello.
And that will really fill him with confidence because he's not just won a big pot, but he's won it just by poker rather than the cards. He had an opportunity to raise because no one was interested. He did. Put the spotlight on him, and when there was the opportunity given to him, he moves straight in there.
Taylor and Brennan, $600 to the good, but they can't cash out.
Do they know that? He'll be very disappointed.
Everybody's still in it, though, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, very early on this.
I mean, there's $14,000 on this table. It's pretty big money. And I take back, by the way, what I said about Jason in relation to the Greek fish. I love the Greek fish, but he never could have won that pot.
I'm sure you'll have something to say about that.
Pass.
The great thing is the image Jason Brennan's got. Nobody even suspects that he didn't have 2 jacks there.
Absolutely. He's pretty unreadable. He's got his cap and he's got his glasses on.
Call.
Surprised by the call there. I think, you know, Jason can build up a head of steam here if he gets behind this a bit more. An ace-7 with only a couple of players to go. And again, remembering here with Anastasia and Carlos in the blinds,
Pass.
they have not looked like they're players that are going to gamble unless they've got a big hand to start with.
No raise.
See, just the call there, just the call with the jacks.
Yeah, I think Anastasia's just finding her feet. It'll be interesting to see how she plays this after the flop. She knows she's got something interesting here. The hooks. They still look good.
So you'd want to play this fast, but I just don't know how comfortable she is. Yeah, I think she is, like you say, just finding her feet, just taking it easy.
Check.
But obviously, meanwhile, it opens the door. Now she looks like she wants some chips. There's 150.
100.
She's bet 100.
Pass.
I like this bet.
Yep.
She is a 6-time Russian champion, Anastasia. She, of course, was a former winner of the Women's World Professional Darts Champion, but now a real part of the PDC.
Pass.
And she's won her first pot.
Yeah, good, and you know that will kind of kickstart her. Hopefully, she'll realise that she can get involved in these pots, and it doesn't always hurt.
Come on. She's on a roll now. You know you want to. Run around now. Yes.
Feels good to win your first pot.
Yeah.
Well, poker, I can't say I'm playing, every day or now and then. I'm just going to internet to take part in some tournaments, watching on TV. Never played live, so I'll be pretty nervous today. Well, I'm in quite good relationship with all today's players, to play darts with them, tournaments, been traveling a lot with them, so they're quite nice. I like them. But not today. I want to win.
It may be a poker game among her friends, but the competitive juices have kicked in, I believe, for Anastasia. She's got her hands full. Obviously, Jason Brennan and the power, Phil Taylor, leading the charge so far. About 2,600.
Pass.
Rocky.
Pass.
There's already a poker player with that nickname, isn't there? Rocky Ross Boatman?
Yeah, I kind of forgot he had a nickname. It doesn't really get used that much, does it?
Rocky Raccoon, Rocky
Pass.
Ross Boatman, Rocky
Call.
Balboa, and Rocky Nicholson.
Pass.
Just the call on the button with the sevens.
Hey, England versus Spain.
I think Carlos is quite a big, not
No
just
risk.
darts and but also a football
I'm not Man
fan.
United, though.
He's a Real Madrid man.
I think
United
Phil's going to
lost
make this
against
very
Barcelona,
hard for
didn't
Carlos, because I don't think it matters what the flop does. I think Phil is going to use kind of reverse position here. The fact that Phil is first to it. I'm surprised he didn't bet there. Again, when you find yourself
50.
50 into 125,
I like the fact that Carlos is getting aggressive, though. He's going to find out where he's at.
yeah, at least he is betting. Too much of this passive calling and folding, you're just going to eat chips. Most of the time, you're not going to like a flop, whatever you're playing. So it's good to get into it.
You know, a lot of these guys, there's Phil, but you talk about Carlos, he might not have a lot of experience at poker, but there's something to
Did
be
you see that
said
Casino Royale?
for heart and instinct.
Some
You
good
just
cards
know,
out there,
you
what
just
I mean.
know you got to
Hey.
pressure
Flush
people.
it, four of
Well,
a
any
kind,
sportsman's going to have that
scores,
competitive heart,
Everyone
aren't
got
they?
a
So
top
I'm
hand.
sure once he finds his feet, he's not going to back off.
How much money did they put in that movie today? They've
Should
got
I
to
be
get
on
some
there?
excitement
2 and
out of
6.
him, then.
Carlos, before he was
again, we don't hear
a
about
pro
you.
dart player, he was a
210,
bricklayer. I
10
think
million
they call that an apprenticeship. Usually most professional darts players seem to spend a little time in the bricklaying trade, but that's sort of like the
Build up the upper body strength for those heavy darts.
I'll tell you in a bit.
takes a lot of power to throw that dart
Oh, yeah.
straight and true.
Hey, mate, I'm lucky if I can hit the board.
Pass. Pass.
Here we go.
Call.
Let's see some more flops.
Raise to 150.
Good, like it.
Yeah, it looks like Carlos's plan here is to see flops and then, get into hands and then sort of outplay people on the flop. It's not a
Yeah.
bad strategy. This format, though, is very quick, Matt.
Exactly, and a lot of time when you play, you
So
think,
raise?
you should be
150.
thinking to yourself, what do I do if you're going to come in? What do I do if somebody re-raises me here or raises? Is Jelle let the ace jack go past a few hands back? Now he's got in there.
Call.
Whoops, I said call, so it
Yeah,
don't
it's
count as
okay.
a raise, does it?
No.
Looks like
Forget
Jason
where I
was
am
about to try and raise there. Shows a lot of strength if you raise against someone on the button.
Pass.
It's a very good situation for the matador, Jelle Klaasen. So he needs a little bit of help from the flop, and he has not got it.
No, and I don't think Jason is. He might maybe do a check raise here.
Check.
Not going to get the opportunity.
Oh, what a perfect card on the turn for Klaasen. For whatever reason, he found to check that on the flop. This has come absolutely dead on for
175.
him.
Yeah, I like the fact again. I like the fact that Jason is betting out here because there's only a small range of hands that can get involved. Sadly, he has run into a monstrous version, and I don't mind the call here either from Klaasen because it's dangerous for a board, but it's only going to improve for him. That's unlikely to make much.
He may induce action on the river here.
Check it.
Check.
Good. I'm glad he's reaching.
250.
I'm going to call you down because I just want to see what you got.
Yeah.
Call.
Jelle Klaasen played that for maximum value. I don't think he could have gotten called on the turn if he had raised. That was what you said.
No, I know.
He got the maximum.
Absolutely. I mean, again, there's not been many showdowns here because so many players are folding out early. So, you know, Jason spends his money to find out. He'll probably be surprised there, but now he knows. The premium hands aren't always going to get raised pre-flop.
I mean, Jason Brennan has been playing a little bit likable, and the Matador spun him.
Hi, I'm Jelle Klaasen. I'm 24 years old and I used to be world champion of darts. I've been playing darts for a little bit more than 7 years now, and I had a lot of experience in the last few years, so it's a short career, but it's just starting. I think if you want to be a good poker player, you have to be good at all things. You have to bluff good, you have to be patient, you have to be able to play aggressive. I think the nice thing about poker is even if you don't have good cards, you can win because you can bluff, and that's the difference with darts. If you don't play good, you don't win.
This match is in full flight. Who'll check out of here 7K richer? Back for more from the Sports Stars Challenge 4 after the break. Well, Matt, the blinds are going up to 50-100, which basically means the average stack is 20 big blinds. Now, it's not massive territory yet, but players are going to have to start worrying about their chips.
Yeah, and I think players like Phil and Paul and Jason are going to make it very hard for the other players to get involved in pots cheaply. They seem to want to do a lot of limping, a lot of seeing pots. We're seeing lots of quite passive play, and I think Paul and Jason and Phil particularly will start making it very hard for them to play this way.
Raise.
I like the way Gary takes his time with his decisions, and let's see how much he's raised. It's just a min raise, just 100 becomes 200.
I think it's the right way to play it. Again, it was such a passive, you know, even Jelle's proving to be reasonably passive in the way he plays, even big hands.
And, you know, there's a lot of reasons for Phil Taylor to call here. He's in position. He also knows that he bluffed Gary out once before. He might look over there and say, I've got that guy's number.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, for a player like Phil, he knows if he can connect with this, he'll probably get paid off. And even if he doesn't, he's still got lots of ways in which to win this.
What's it? Another big blind? What's it? 51,
He's
50?
raised to 200.
Oh, is he?
It's
Oh,
50,
I'm not even
100
thinking.
Yeah, he didn't realize it had gotten raised, Jason. I was wondering, I think, Matt, because he lost the last pot.
Yeah.
He needs to just sort of settle down. It's hard when it's your first time on TV.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, he even announced, you know, I'm calling you because I want to see what you've got. So he didn't clearly think that he was definitely winning there, but it's clearly hit him harder than he expected it to, just to see what went on there.
Paul is trying to figure out if he has a price here.
I'll be careful. Just this once.
He knows he don't have much in the way of cards, but he's thinking, my God, there's 4 guys in there.
Never usually came anytime.
Yeah, well, Paul's been playing a long while. He's had a number of cashes back home. So you know, I fancy him to understand more of the complexities of the game than some of the guys at the table. We'll know where there's value.
This is going to be quite easy for Phil Taylor to understand. Look at you, see his eyebrows go up. Oh my gosh, 3 5s. And I'm worried for Jason Brennan. He didn't want to be in this hand. Now he's in it. Now he's got bottom pair.
I'll check it.
Oh, this could only get ugly.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. I mean, there's 2 overcards for Gary here. You might be tempted to bet it. No, Fedus. Well, yeah, I like.
500.
I like the fact that Phil bets out because you kind of expect him to, just because of position. The bad news is he's unlikely to get much action.
Well, you know how they say, go big or go home. He went big.
Yeah, there were enough people in that hand that it was it
we
paid
see?
not to be super tricky. I don't know if he should
I'd
keep
love
showing
you to
stuff
show
if he's about to.
5. Beautiful.
I think in the first level, if you want to show some cards and build a reputation, that's fine. But right now, you want
Stop
people
there
to be
and then, didn't I?
worrying because you want somebody to call you later on when you're holding trips.
Really rubbish, and now I might have got a little straight on you.
Have you spoken to him since? Do you know what? I haven't, no. No. It's not me.
And I believe Jason was just sort of asking Phil about, of course, the recent Premier League final. Phil says, I don't even want to think about that right now.
He's focused on his pocket sevens.
Pass. Pass.
Just limped in here. You know, I kind of feel like, Matt, I always talk about you do what the game allows you to do. This particular game is allowing people to see flops cheap if they want to.
Yeah,
Cool.
I must say, if I sat in this table now, I would just be
Pass.
raising blind pretty much every single hand because it seems that very few people are doing anything. There's going to be no re-raising in this unless you get kings and aces, I think. I just think you would be able to take so many pots from raising pre-flop and continuation betting. It's
Check.
Yeah, but look what Phil's got the greatest situation now.
That's twice now. He hit it with the fives, he's hit it with the sevens. At least this is a board that's more likely to connect it, but again, you pick your players to fight against. I just think here against Jelle and Anastasia, you would be better to give them a card, let them hit something. I mean, it is dangerous. We can see Jelle's got the gut shot, but
Pass.
wow, the call there. I'm really surprised. This is good. This is a bit more creative. I guess Anastasia's just got bored of folding. Most of the time you're going to miss the flop, so you can't just be put off as soon as someone bets.
An ace would have been a really dangerous card for Anastasia, and Phil is not slowing down 3 sevens. He knows the strength of that hand.
Yeah,
500.
Yeah, that's big.
500.
good. And you know, good that Anastasia, wanted to take another card. It's just Phil's got a monster here, and there's no way he's going to slow down because he doesn't want the ball to get any more dangerous.
Pass.
You big bully.
He is rocking, rolling.
I was so hoping she was going to call you there, but I really was.
I was bluffing.
He has fun when he plays, doesn't he?
And he didn't show, which is a good thing to get into that habit too, I think, at this stage now. Don't give any information out.
Is it 200 now, yeah?
50 and 100.
He's won that many pots, the power Phil Taylor, in the big blind here, that he's nearly got twice as many chips as he started with without really having to show down a hand. And Matt, I think he's like the only player at the table who's got more chips than they started with, basically.
Yeah. I mean, he's had a bluff. He's had a couple of big hands, and playing in a way that really doesn't put him in danger either, which is a real key thing in this format. Is control the pot size, bet for value,
Pass.
bet when there's a situation that presents itself.
Raise.
Good man. Here we go. He's on the button. He's got an ace. I'm glad he didn't just limp in there. I'm so glad.
Call.
Lovely stuff from Carlos to get aggressive here, but he's run into some hands in the blinds. This pot's big, and this is going to come down to the texture of the flop and who's aggressive.
Yeah, my worry here is that Carlos won't be able to enjoy the delights of position because I just don't know if he's tuned in.
Check. Check.
Come on, Carlos. Good man.
100.
Carlos!
100 though.
Cool.
That's my worry. Is my worry was that he wasn't going to bet enough.
Well, it's not over yet.
See, Phil's got some moves. He knows he can make a squeeze here, but it's just not worth it here.
Sometimes when you think the game's over, it's only just begun. I mean, think about it. If Klaasen doesn't hit a 2 here, Rodriguez has got him crawled. It's all going to come down to heart. Does he have the heart to stick
Check.
it in?
Check.
Oof.
Yeah, I think he's going to get
He's
just
got
checked
outs,
down.
though. He's got outs. He's got the 5, the ace, the jack, the king. And he hit it.
Yeah, and he's going to get paid off, but
400.
Oh, what a
he's
bet!
folded.
What a bet by Klaasen! He just slung that out there. He had a deuce high. He was completely counterfeited.
Absolutely, but again, that was my fear, is that if Carlos didn't bet big enough, as soon as Carlos got called any amount, I could just think Carlos will just retract and go, oh, I'm beat, and he'd give up the chase. It's a shame, and amazing that he would have actually won the hand had it showed down.
That's the whole thing about a matador, isn't it? Knowing when the bull is suddenly it's ready, it's weak. You stick the knife in.
I don't know if I like that metaphor at all.
Well, that's the key. You don't want to go after the bull before it's been worn down.
I know, but that's not a fair fight, is it?
Bullfighting? Well,
Yeah.
he's a darts player. I'm just talking about his nickname.
I know, sorry. Carried away.
He's a Dutch darts player. He's probably never been to a bullfight.
It seems unfair to have a Spanish player on the table and someone else has got the nickname of Matador.
Pass. Pass. Pass.
Well, 7-8 suited there, Carlos has let go. So, again,
Raise to
players
left.
paying attention will get a feel for these guys' range, and it's quite narrow right now. Anastasia got involved with the ace-6, but I think generally, I mean, the fact that we've even seen ace-jack being limped in with here. Again, I just feel players like Paul and Jason, as long as they don't just run into someone acting like a cooling station. The hard thing here is that people are folding so readily, so you never build a pot.
Now, this is understandable from Brennan. He says, look, I'm re-raising a button raise. Ace is good, but Jason's problem is Jelle has a monster.
Yeah, it's the first 3 bet of the whole game so far. I'm sure. I mean, especially remembering that it was Jason and Jelle that had the little confrontation before that didn't go so well for Jason. Well, that's an interesting flop.
Well, interesting if you're Jason Brennan hoping, because that was basically the best flop he could hit.
Yeah, that's the absolute
400.
bingo. But is he gonna
400.
get called? Is he gonna get any action? That's the hard part of a game that has this shape. Is how do you get paid off? How do you build pots?
This pot's already $1,400. This pot's been built. This is $1,450.
Yeah, this is one of the more exciting pots we've seen.
And Klaasen's got a problem because he might have been calling pre-flop almost in a trappy style, but now if he goes any farther, he's actually drawing nearly dead.
Yeah.
Call.
He's drawing
Yeah,
like
that's-
2 kings in the deck.
I mean, and I don't think that Jason is going to give Jelle too much credit that he's in a lot of trouble here.
Well, Jason's just going to move in on the next card, no
Oh,
matter
yeah.
what comes.
All in.
He didn't even wait for it, which is a little bit dangerous to do because it says a lot about that you already had that plan. But I mean, what if Jelle had a big pair? You know, we've seen these guys play these big pairs quite slowly. I love it. I think it's the right way to play against this opposition on this
Pass.
table.
Yeah, but you
Bingo.
you can't be scared of the boogeyman under the bed. I mean, nut flush draw, 2 pair.
I know what you're saying. But when you see players that play pocket jacks so passively and pocket queens passively, is you can't just say these guys definitely don't have a massive pocket pair. It's very hard to put inexperienced players on specific hands because they play them a bit weird. It's as simple as that.
Gary McConnell just sort of, I think he's just taking a little time to say, what's the pace of this game? Do I need to adjust my strategy? I think he's doing everything right, except that he's really not connecting with the flop.
No, absolutely. He folded a big suited king earlier on, but no, I don't think. Certainly, we've not seen him do anything silly. He's not wasted any chips on any miracle draws. He's just not really presented with many opportunities. But I'm confident as soon as he does, he'll be the one to make the most of it and maximize the situation.
Pass.
And Carlos has a little bit of a worry in that he's
Call.
basically only got half his stack. Klaasen just basically is getting ace king every hand.
Yeah, he's just a card rack, isn't he? But he's playing it so passively again. That's my worry. I hope Jason doesn't get too carried away with himself.
Pass. Check.
Because he's really, he's earned himself a lot of chips through his play here. So you don't want to get too creative, too crazy.
3 ways, the limper, the 2. Oh my gosh, what a flop for Nicholson.
Yeah.
He's gonna. I bet he takes his sunglasses off just to make sure what he's got.
Check.
And obviously, the check on the flop to let people catch up. But now he'll be betting the turn, right?
I think so. There's no way you want to go too crazy with this. Well, this is a good part, and this is a good reason to bet, because if someone had the 5, he knows that someone on this table, I would say, even if they had a 5, they probably wouldn't bet it. Now they might have improved. And again, I come back to the point is that when you're up against passive players, it's really hard to get paid off.
Big blind special.
I got into poker in high school. I was a bit of a nerd in high school. Not to say that poker's a nerdy game, but we had a bit of a chess club. And when we weren't playing chess, we used to play poker. So we started playing games like 3-card brag and 5-card draw. From there, holdem became very popular in the late 90s. I got into that game, played things like Omaha and 7-card stud as well. So I've been versed in quite a lot of the games. So I've been playing for about 15 years. I do tend to wait for good hands, but if I do see a right position, I will pounce. And being kind of the bad boy of darts, I've been known to pounce at certain points. So watch out, I think I could be pouncing at a certain point today.
They've played 2 full levels, Matt, and the fact that there's still 7 on the table makes Phil Taylor's chip lead even stronger, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Carlos and Gary are going to have to make some moves soon. Being tight's one thing, but you're just gonna bleed away here.
There is only one prize. That one prize, the final table placing in these opening heats of the Sports Star Challenge 4.
Going up now, pal.
And I do wonder if there is a gear change. I mean, you could say it's the right thing to do, but obviously with the inexperience as far as this format goes on the table, it'd just be a question of if the play, there's a thing sometimes don't want to be the first one out. They're having fun down there.
Yeah, no, that can, for the cameras and the TV table, you think you don't want your driving emotion to be, I just don't want to be first out, because you'll just get down to no chips.
I mean, in the previous sort of incarnations of this tournament, in the football heats, it would always be, I just don't want to get knocked out before Tony Cascarino. but I don't know. For some reason, everybody seems to get along really well. In the intra-sports.
Pass.
Anastasia continues her card drought.
Pass.
I'll have to admit, last year in this, there was definitely a lot of aggression between Taylor, Martle, and Manley. I mean, those guys went at it. And this, blind 75-150 now, or I think they're 75-150.
Yeah.
Check.
They've Klaasen just checking top pair. Now, I think this is trappy. He knows it's probably the best hand.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I mean, I can't believe he's worried about his kicker. I'm sure that he is just going to either try and keep this pot small or maybe hope that Carlos comes in and he can just check call. But I still don't know. I still don't really know what these guys are thinking.
150.
Well, it's gone perfect for Jelle Klaasen. He was trying to induce a bluff, and he has now. And let's see if he wants to put the hammer down.
Raise.
Yeah,
good.
Well, he knows exactly what he's doing.
Good.
This is a man with a plan.
Raise to 300. So it's only, it was a min bet, a min raise. Just try and extract some more chips. It's a shame that I mean, Carlos, he thought, I should have a go at this.
Well, it was a good idea by Carlos.
It was a good idea. It was a good idea. But he has run into a decent hand and now he can't carry on. He's really in trouble now with his chip stack. He's got less than 500 to play around with. I mean, three of our players now got less than 10 times the big blind.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard road back for Carlos Rodriguez. All roads do not lead to Rome. I think Carlos's idea here will be to get the rest of his chimps in one lump, unless his hand is really strong.
I don't think that'll make too much odds. It almost becomes easier at this stage. I mean, the good news is that there's value out there. At least he's not one of the blinds.
Raise.
And it is dangerous at this point to raise because there's a good chance that Carlos will push him, but we've seen how tight he's been. Is that I think he's still going to be overly critical when it comes to deciding what hand to push with.
Nicholson,
It's 400 total.
nice raise size here.
Yeah.
And with the respect he's gotten at this table, with the success he's had with these opening raises, you know, the blinds have gone up. He's stepping up the pressure. I think he's got his eyes on the prize.
Yeah, Gary seems to be nice and patient. I mean, he's still got 1,300 to play around with. That he can double up, he knows, and you know, one double up and is not too far off the top three.
This is big trouble for Paul Nicholson. Let's see if he realizes it. Now, it's hard to put Klaasen on a hand here. Obviously, put him on, he's got something. But I wonder if the flop comes over cards, is Paul going to have a stab at it? Be interesting to see how this
Well, the problem is we've seen Klaasen slow play, you know, and just call with ace jack and ace king. So I mean, that's a fabulous flop.
Well, I think Paul has to. He's
yeah.
going to be willing to go all the way here.
The thing is, I'm still surprised how passively Jelle's playing these kind of decent pocket pairs, because he plays in a way where when he doesn't connect, he's going to fold to a pass, and that's going to happen the majority of the time.
Paul, all aggression. That was a semi-bluff. He could win that pot two ways, by hitting the flush or by getting Jelle to fold the best hand. The second one happened, and you know, he's going peak to peak.
And Brennan now the only player over 3,000 in chips. I mean, Carlos is going to have to be careful, because before he knows it, the blind's going to come round, and he needs to make his move while there's still value out there.
It's funny when Brennan was walking in to this tournament arena. He said, "I'll see you in a while, a long while." You know, he's had a very positive mind frame.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, there was no way he was going to come in here and shut down and just try not to be the first person out. He wanted to win pots, and
You might just want to let this one go. It's sunglass on sunglass, and Nicholson has been a little bit. Oh my gosh, he's just on fire. What did you call that? What instrument? A drill?
A drill, yes.
A drill,
A drill.
yes.
Okay, so 325
A pneumatic drill.
It's not a very large
175
amount.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I'm going to be stubborn because I've got position.
Well, yeah, exactly. You can be, because it's 175. You know, you're third in chips. You got over 2,500. I don't think. I think Jason needs to think a bit more about the size of raise he wants to make in these situations.
I think Brennan's going to win. If Nicholson misses the flop, I think Brennan's going to win this. What do you think? I mean, he's betting.
Yeah, I mean, you know, is Jason doesn't generally, if he's raised pre-flop, he will fire a continuation bet. I think the thing is, he recognises that Paul is a dangerous player to go up against, and that's why I'm surprised that one, he decided to make that raise, and two, that he didn't make it a bit more meaningful.
They both got something now. Now things get very tricky. Nicholson can't really fold here. He's picked the flush draw. He can call or raise.
You like doing that, don't you? Raise an amount and then you bet it smaller. It's weird. You can't have a good hand every time. Call.
Call.
I don't think Jason's bet sizing is tricky. I think he's just not taking long enough to decide how much to bet when he puts it out there.
Paul could win this and miss. Well, he hasn't missed, but he could have had some bluffing cards on the river. And
wow.
470.
I like the bet by Jason Brennan here, but I think he's getting called. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There's just too much in the pot. He's made it too cheap along the way.
I mean, Paul can be thinking to himself, is he slow playing an ace here? Raised with an ace before the flop. Flop top pair, sucked me in, and now is getting me to pay him off. Is that what happened?
It's not an instant call for sure, but I mean, if this was Anastasia, you know, fold. But Jason has been pretty active. He's had a very high bet frequency. Could be playing the 10 this way, and you got lucky and spiked the jack on the end. It could have been a pair that went south.
It'd be very unlikely to be playing a 10 this way. It's got so much showdown value. It looks like it's either a big hand or a bluff.
Raising before the flop with an ace.
That's what he said. Oh, and Jason's got it through!
Wow, well, that's fantastic. I mean, that will just make him feel amazing to have got that through.
Relentless.
Wow.
Tell you what, he bluffed out a very good player.
Yeah, I mean, you know, to make that move, if there's a player that I would avoid making that move against, it probably would have been Paul, and he got it through. It made him really think and got him out of the way.
This kid from East London has got some game. He's a cocky cockney.
Loving it. Geezer.
I've been playing poker for about 2 years. I watched poker on TV for about 5 or 6 years, really loved it. I used to play Kaluki and 9-card brag, so I'm used to that game live. But I've been playing online, so this will be my first game actually on a live table, which is quite a lot of pressure in front of the cameras, your very first game live. But I'm really excited about it and I'm really up for it. It's either going to go one or two ways. I'll have a storm the table or I'll crumble. And I ain't here to crumble, I'm here to win. Jason Brennan, Sports Star champion? Yes, thank you very much. I'll have some of that.
Welcome back. Darts players on the green felt here at the Party Poker Sports Stars Challenge 4. Still 7. Something's got to give, and Carlos only about 800 or so in chips. Put them all in, Carlos.
Call.
Well, he's called.
Call.
Now, what this is opening up for, a guy like Jason Brennan, Phil Taylor
Phil,
for
yeah.
sure.
Call.
It's just called. Again, I mean, Phil's probably got this right, though, considering you know that if you raise, everyone just folds, or you only get called by a monster. He's been so successful. He had the 5 hits, the 7 hits. Maybe if you can get the 8s to come in here, connect.
Call.
Paul understands that there's a lot of value out there, so he's just going to try and get lucky and take down a big one.
I've got news for you. This pot, if McConnell calls and Anastasia checks, is going to be, my lord, 6 ways. It's going to be
Call.
$900 before the flop.
No ways.
This is a crucial pot for this tournament. I've just got this feeling that Paul Nicholson's going to hit.
I just think everyone is so passive here is that we know that normally these turn into massive pots. I think one person will bet, 5 people fold.
If it gets checked to the power, will he bet? Gary McConnell might think to himself, hey, this is my chance.
Check.
Too passive,
Check.
too passive.
Check.
Look, check.
A free card.
6 people check round.
Well, now, this is going to come down to desire. This is just flat out who wants it. And I think if they check to Nicholson, he might decide he wants
Well,
it.
he's got the up and down now.
Check.
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 I'm surprised if Phil is experienced enough to know that this table, you probably put the minimum down, they'll all fold. Paul won't. He will call. Everyone else is just running away here.
This is going to make for some very interesting river plays here if they both miss.
And Paul, I'm sure Paul will appreciate that Phil bet because you have to. You know, if Phil hadn't bet, then certainly Jason or sorry, Jason's out, but Paul would have definitely had a stab regardless of his cards.
Taylor might think he has to bluff this to win, and that wouldn't be such a bad line of thinking. Now he's got showdown value. Now he only really gets beat by the 10.
I don't think you can believe the queen's out there. I don't believe that you would have gone. You know, if Paul had the queen, would he have let it go? Would he have checked at the end for a 6-way pot and not protected the queen? I think the queen is a fantastic card for Phil there.
Yeah, it was a bit of a defensive bet on the river. He put a bet in. He didn't want to have to call more. Kind of like it.
Yeah, no, I think the queen is a delightful card for Phil there. There's no way Paul would have let that go all the way around 6 ways checking if he'd got the queen on the flop.
Look at the power. Easy peasy. He would certainly be classed as a chip builder. Phil the Power Taylor. And there's a lot of great ones in the poker world. They're the ones who win the tournaments. He's under the gun here. And yes, the stack is tall. That's no good. Those chip builders can play any two.
Pass.
And the others have to be a bit more selective.
Pass.
And with the 4s,
150. Call.
A little limp in.
Pass.
Nicholson in the waiting game, and well, it's suited, but Matt,
Pass.
no.
Pass.
I like how Anastasia really
Nice.
commits to the fold. She really gets both hands on the cards, puts her whole body behind it.
I actually have my tattoos in a place where they're not visible.
Canada?
Obviously. No, I mean on my person. This is a huge flop for Paul Nicholson. Now he's got the set. I don't know if Jelle can get away from this.
200.
200.
It looks like a really strong hand class and has top pair, top kicker,
Fold.
straight draw, backdoor, flush draw.
What's he got? He's got the lot. Yeah, I think that Paul will play this quite hard and fast because of the dangerous nature of the board.
3 could, Jelle did. It could slow down the action. Paul needs to be careful here.
Check.
It's not horrible to take a free card in this spot. He's got outs, flush outs. And look at this, they got the same hand.
Split it.
Who would have thought that? Who would have thought that?
The interesting thing will be, no, actually, Paul
300.
can't raise because of the flush. He just calls this down, plays the board.
It is pretty
Yeah.
sick. Now, it's not 300 to win 1,000. Since he knows he's playing the board,
4, 5,
it's
6. I'm not seeing that wrong, am I? That is a straight on the board.
it's 300 to
Three
win.
to chop. I'll call.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
He's not getting great odds here. It's not the easiest call in the
You got a
world.
7.
No.
That's good then. You got a flush.
No.
Paul's so paranoid.
Have you-
Can you beat me?
Have you got a full house?
Okay. Guys.
That would have been special.
I'll tell you, that pot had the potential to get completely out of
C4.
control.
Yeah.
Instead, they're going to split it.
Yeah, I wanted the board to pair.
But as the blinds go to $1 and $200, who besides Brennan will be bouncing?
Well, no one. I mean, you know, Paul's got the game to get himself out of it, but the passive play of all 4 at the bottom here, I just don't know how they're going to get out of it. Gary is the only one that I think possibly could, simply because he knows what he's doing, and we've not yet really seen him play a hand.
As all the champions on this table know, and there's plenty of them among these darts players who all won titles, sometimes being ahead is a lot easier than closing things out. Jason still has a lot to do here.
Oh yeah, and one misstep. He's the sort of player, you know, live by the sword, die by the sword. Is that he's the sort of player that if you start throwing your chips in, and you run into a monster, you're probably not going to stop throwing chips at it.
And I don't think Nicholson, we can see him there with the poker face and the statuesque demeanor. He doesn't mean to go away quietly.
I think Paul is just quite happy to let Jason do all this because he knows that when he gets a hand, Jason, if he can isolate Jason is the guy that's going to throw lots and lots of chips with you, not necessarily always have the goods.
I like the fact. Oh, he's just called here. I was going to say that he's raising everything that moves. To me, I'm not sure if this is the best situation for a limp here. Now Paul's going to just eat this up. He may just ship. He might just ship.
The only problem with shipping is considering how passive they've been, is if you're just shipping and crossing your fingers that everyone folds, fair dues, but you're not going to get called by something weak. You're probably only going to get called if you've been unlucky enough to run into a monster.
Wow, that was.
Yeah, it's a tricky table to play at that chip size. It's kind of hard to play against these guys. You know they're going to fold a huge amount, but if you do run into a big hand, Ace-9 is going to be in lots of trouble for a proportion of the time.
Yeah, I mean he only has 7 big blinds, so picking up 500 would have increased his stack by like what, 25%?
Yay!
30%? I don't know, but I understand why he let it go.
I mean, it's just such a small amount to Jason.
I'll give you a go.
He's ahead. He'll be pleased to find out he's ahead. And even if he gets unlucky, it's not really going to make much difference because Carlos has let himself get so low. It will take Carlos back up to 1,000 though.
It was a good decision for Carlos to get the money in, though. He's got a king-queen. He's gone with it. He's got a $1,000 pot, or slightly more, to try and get back in business. He needs the king or the queen. Is there a senorita in his future?
Nice.
7 or a 3 now are the weird outs.
Yeah.
For the split pot. Spanish champion He's won events on the Spanish darts tour. Used to be a soft tip player. Needs some steel here. No.
Close. But no maraca.
Okay. Played.
And I think Carlos, a little bit of a victim of his inexperience here tonight, Matt. This is not an easy table to survive on if you don't get cards and connect with flops, and he did neither.
No, and I think once everyone at the table realized that he was going to be a soft target, I think they just moved into him knowing he would limp and then fold.
Mad Marty Wilson keeping the game square from the background there. Watching everything that goes on in the den.
Jason's got himself a nice little chip wall. He's building up there to stop Paul from hurting him.
Pass.
I mean, Jason is easily the most dangerous player at the table to have chips because he will just use them over and over again, and that's the way to win these formats.
And I think it's starting to click into Nicholson's mind that the only way through this heat is through Jason Brennan. Now,
that could be the hand.
Cool.
I just called, okay. I thought that could be a hand to make a move with, because if you do run into an ace-king or an ace-queen, at least you're still live.
the problem that Paul Nicholson's going to face here, Matt, is that Brennan has not been checking flops, even if he misses. And so it's almost for sure that Nicholson's going to face another thrash of money on the flop.
True, but that can make it easy. Is you wait and you wait and you just basically go fishing until you hit something and then you reel it in. It's just frustrating if you miss it a lot. Wow.
I think Paul's going to have to go with this. It's a double belly buster.
Yeah. Yeah, this could be as good as it gets. It's so hard to make this decision when you're behind and you've only got 2 cards to come to save you.
7, 8.
9 or a king would make him the nuts. He's got 1,000 there. He's going to be getting about 2 to 1. He's not that far off a good price here. You know.
No, absolutely. And knowing that Jason can't have been this well supplied by cards all night, he must have been making some moves too.
Tell you what, it would really help Nicholson if Brendan checks here. He could just go all in. He's put them all in. Of course, he put the hammer down.
Super strong play. Love it.
Oh, did you see him? Yeah, dry swallow there. This is what makes your mouth go dry. Facing your tournament here with only a straight draw.
It's tricky. I mean, he's going to take a look at the pot. I mean, he's obviously got to think the other side of it is what's he left with if he lets this go, and how long can he survive.
I wouldn't blame him either way. Because there's only one winner here, Matt, I would personally lean towards gambling here. But I wouldn't blame him either way. What would you do?
I think because of how busy Jason's been, if you hadn't seen much of Jason's hand, I probably would go for this. I just don't like the idea of folding this out and trying to survive. You know, the blinds are too high. He's got 1,000 behind it. He's gone for. He's passed out. I do understand it because he is about to. He's about to get another chance at this, but he's not got a lot of ammo to fight with.
But it'll be a lovely time to be able to rabbit hunt, he's thinking, and see what would have happened. But I do wonder if the reason that Nicholson folded is because he thinks there's a couple short stacks on my left. I may still be able to get out of this without having to turn my cards over.
Yeah, he might be able to double up easier through those, you know, wait for an opportunity because of his position where maybe Phil and Jason are out of the hand, and then he can move in on Gary and Anastasia. The thing, you know, I mean, that's the problem is you appreciate 2/3 of the time you don't connect with the flop. So her strategy involves losing far more often than she's win because somebody just bets at her. I mean, Jason is just, he must be just itching to pick on her there because he knows how many hands she will fold.
Tell you what, if Anastasia can hit this flop, she can get right back in the game. You could see a little lady peeking on the board and putting her right back into the frame.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Well, this could be good. This is a good spot.
You would forgive Gary for shoving here. It would be a very, very good thought. It would take a lot of heart, but it would be a really good thought. Come on. Yeah, go on.
Come on.
You got to do that sometimes.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Even though Anastasia has called here, Gary should pat himself on the back here, Matt.
Yeah.
Because he tried to take that money. He knows Anastasia's been folding some of these hands. And, okay, he's in a race. A race for his tournament.
You know, I would love to see him come back into this. Give him some chips and give him some cards.
You know, I think Anastasia's all in, too. They've got the same stack. So this is the tournament for both of them.
Wow.
Is it? Who's got more chips?
Good luck, guys.
No one.
Probably 50-50 here.
It looks, yeah, it's exactly what it looks like. That's a good flop for the twos. Just keep them low, says Gary.
Yeah.
Keep them low.
Anything other than the actual overcards now is unlikely to come along.
Whew.
So good.
King or queen. Anastasia needs the face cards. Paint it up.
Oh, that was a little bit scary for a second there.
She got railroaded wide. It hit the 1, it hit the 19, or the 3.
Everything but the goal.
I think she might be out. They're going to count them down here.
800.
And you know what? It was a good call by Anastasia, though.
It was.
I had exactly the same.
But you wonder, had she just shipped all the chips in, would Gary have found it so easy to commit all of his chips with the pocket deuces?
Very much.
But
Bye-bye.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Well, she made a Shanghai checkout against, I believe it was Wayne Martle in the World Championships. But here, she's been shanghaied. So just 5 now on the floor.
and that means a lot to Gary. It gets him into third. He's not got a huge amount of chips to play with, but at least now he can push Jelle, who's hardly played a hand for so long, into a really tricky spot.
I was a bit nervous in the beginning because it's my first time, but then guys just laughing, joking, and you know, I felt a bit relaxed. Yeah, my cards wasn't really brilliant, but well, I came out second, so it's alright.
Amazingly enough, McConnell has got more chips all of a sudden than he started with, and that's pretty impressive considering how far and few between his pots have been.
Yeah, absolutely. He was down to 800 in that all-in with Anastasia now.
2,700.
I mean, Jelle sadly is just going the way of Carlos and Anastasia. He's just bleeding away, and at some point he'll get all in. And he might even get all in with the best hand, but it's going to be so easy for multiple opponents to call him. He could just get outdrawn.
I mean, the Dutchman has got to put his finger in the dike because right now it's just all leaking away.
It's suddenly, well, here, here's the miracle hand. It saved you once. How are you going to play it? Limping like Phil Wood?
Raise 400 total.
Still sticking with this raise.
Pass.
You know, Gary appreciates position.
Phil's just said I've had enough. Now, having watched Taylor before, I think that he's calling with these cards because he's planning on making a play with certain kinds of flops. That's no.
Pass.
Okay, baby's just folding. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is okay with the 8-4.
I think the 8-4 fold is fine. Jason hasn't bluffed anyone for a couple of seconds, so he might fancy a piece of this. But again, my worry at the table would be I don't know much about Gary's game. I saw the deuces, but that was pretty standard line to take. Jason it just looks like he hates not playing a pot. He wants to play as much as he can.
He realizes, I'm guessing, Matt, that you know, the fact that he's got so many chips scares people. And it would scare me if I was on the table with him. You know, you're scared to get in a pot with a chip leader.
Oh, just call it.
Cool.
What flop exactly do you think Jason is hoping for?
Do you know what? Any flop now, he can bet 500. And the majority of the time, that's going to win it for him. That isn't going to be good. But I think the thing is, you could still take the sub of this. Obviously, we can see the cards, but I think.
Check.
See, I don't understand that to a degree.
This
500.
500.
This feels like a situation now where
Call.
James Brennan is about to double Gary McConnell up. I think he might look back on this and think, what was I doing?
I just think Jason's just become a bit too keen to get involved, and he's not able to just back off. And it worked well against Paul.
All in.
All in.
Nice, lovely timing, great move.
Yeah, this is not a fun decision for James Brennan.
You know, why did he get involved in this?
Now, this is a pretty big bet all of a sudden. 1,800. This is not just 1 and 200 anymore. This is. You call this and lose, James. You're not the chip leader anymore. You call this and lose. You've given away. You call this
all in before. Don't forget that.
You call this and win, of course. You can feel like the tournament's yours. This is a big decision.
Almost a complete recording.
I mean, that's the thing. The fact that Gary's in, Jason can't even use his bluffing skills on the river. What are you thinking?
Well, I think he's trying to get a read off Gary. Gary's obviously very.
Okay.
I mean, he's nervous, as anyone would be when they have all their chips in. But beyond that, he has to feel like he's got the best hand.
That was me, I'm going to give that one to you.
Good fold. Good. He changed his mind. He changed direction, Matt. He got away from it.
Right.
It's not the easiest thing in the world to do.
Good hand.
Great stuff for Gary McConnell, who he doesn't have the chip lead, but I'll tell you what, he feels like he's got enough money to make a real run at this tournament. Well, with the blinds up, even now Phil Taylor, Matt, who has been in comfortable chip spots this entire heat, now only finds himself with about 10 big blinds. He's going to have to pick it up. Now, we know he can, but he's going to have to.
Yeah, well, he was enjoying a situation where he could feast on the easy chips from the 4 players to his right. Now, obviously, that's reduced. Gary has now got chips. Anastasia and Carlos have gone. Do you know what? The first crack for me in Jason's game is that he just seems so determined to win every single pot after that confrontation with Gary and the effect it had on him.
Well, I can tell you that many this is advocated as an internet play.
He's just bullying us off.
Shoving all in on a small stack. Klaasen.
The thing is, I haven't got anything, so I can't even gamble.
Fair dues. My worry is just that right now, before that confrontation with Gary, he had a huge amount of chips. If he does one of these moves and runs into a hand, then he's just absolutely crippled. Is why not just make standard raises? Continue your aggressive game, but don't just suddenly risk it all, because the one hand you get it wrong, it's all over.
Klaasen will be under the gun here. He's only got 700 now. He's been proving people wrong all his life. He was the youngest player ever to win a World Darts Championship at the tender age of 21. Alexander the Great was 24 when he conquered half of the known world, as Sid Waddell likes to say.
Call.
Klaasen was only 21.
Phil's back to set mining. Work with the 5s, work with the 7s.
Love this play by Paul Nicholson. You have to.
Yeah, as soon as Jason's out the hand, Paul can go bang. Here we go, because he knows that he can run that through. And
he's going to get this hand to fold. He wants Gary McConnell to fold. I think he's going to get Gary to fold. Gary's going to ask how much it is. It's about 600, 700 more.
Yeah, that is the disadvantage for Paul, is he has allowed himself to get so short stacked. That's why he hated folding so much to Jason's move.
I don't think Taylor is going to pass, but Nicholson does have a bit of fold equity, as they say. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure Taylor is praying that Gary folds so that he can call this.
Obviously, if he does call, it would be a great call, but
see, that might be an incentive to Phil, because the fact that Gary considered it, well, maybe Gary's got some big cards, and maybe those are the cards that Paul's relying on. Well, so it actually improves Phil's situation.
You think you've got me? If I'm going to lose to anybody, I'd rather lose to you.
That's not very
I think you've got me, son.
Well, that was friendly of Paul to say. If I'm going to lose to anybody, Phil, I just as soon it'd be you. It's a race. It's a straight race. But Paul doesn't look like he's feeling it. You wouldn't begrudge him a bit of luck. He made the aggressive move.
No, he played so well. We enjoyed his play, and then he just ran low on chips.
Still live for the 6 outs.
Yeah.
The 8s, the kings.
Look at the river.
Running A7.
Not so good. That's pretty unhelpful. It ain't over yet. It's just very close.
Man. Be nice.
He's got to squeeze one in a double.
He's prayed for an 8. That.
Close but no Siggy.
7, 8, 9, 10 there, pal. Cheers, fella.
Well, this is going to change the table dynamics dramatically.
Good luck. Cheers, mate.
It is, and I think this Paul Nicholson, I think he's got some very good card sense on him, and obviously he can throw with the rest of them.
Yeah, well.
But you know what? That takeout by Phil Taylor has put him in pole prime position against Brennan.
Yeah, he's been patient. He knew an opportunity would come up. He couldn't wait to get his chips in that situation. It's going to be very even. I imagine that Jelle's not going to be with us much longer unless he gets a massive hand and doubles up.
Jason has been very aggressive all day. He's got a lot of chips. But then again, you can't knock Phil Taylor out easily. He's a very good thinker at the poker table. You can see that. I'll be pulling for one of my fellow pros. I think if Jelle Klaasen doesn't win, I want Phil to win.
Klaasen short stacked and in the big blind for about half his stack. Now, he was chosen as a wild card for this last Premier League darts. Had a bit of a rocky first season, but they think he's going to come back stronger than ever next year. And I think it's kind of like in this poker. He does seem to have some good instincts, Jelle. He's not out yet, but I think he's going to look back on this and his game's going to be the better for it. I don't think he can fold any 2 cards right now.
I think you'd be surprised. I mean, I bet, looking back to that dream period where he was getting ace king, ace jack, and he never really made a move with them. He never really capitalized on it. You think, well, if he didn't like those sort of hands now, what's his kind of selection be now?
Well, Gary McConnell, if he looks over at Jelle Klaasen, he'll say to himself, I don't have any fold equity, which means I can't make him fold any 2 cards now. There we go. And now Gary's like, oh my gosh, I've got a deuce 5.
400.
400.
Yeah, but for 400, like.
Yeah, it's
deuce 5 is,
yeah, sure.
It's better than live.
Sure.
What is, unless he's got aces, but he's weighted. You know they're going to be big cards, but at least deuce 5 is going to be live. They're suited out.
As you can see, still 36% Gary McConnell with him. Klaasen, though, 6 out of 10 times he'll be doubling up. He hopes this is one of them. Uh-oh.
That's it. You wait and wait and wait, but doesn't mean anything because you got such a small amount of chips. Even if he doubled up here, he needs to do it again. It's down to the river.
A 7, a jack, or a queen. Those are the cards for Klaasen. Shazam! He's going to sit back down. They're shaking his hands, but of course the dealer's going to say, "Hold on a second, Jelle. It was counterfeited on the river."
It's a horrible. Of all the bad beats, that's the stinker. Unlucky for Gary there. If no one had said anything, he would have been out the door.
Just look at that again. Obviously, Jelle Klaasen was fixated on the queen of the jack, but that 7 counterfeited McConnell's 2 pair, Matt, and 9s and 7s with the queen is better. Every double up counts. It'll just be a question of Jelle using this ammo to his sort of as an asset.
Yeah, I just hope he does appreciate that this is what you have to do. Just get your chips in there. Because the double up from 7 didn't really mean a lot, but to double up now would be fantastic, and you can start challenging Gary and putting pressure on him, and then you work your way up again, but not if you let too many blinds go through you.
Every set begins with a leg. Every leg begins with a throw.
Raise to 600 total.
And every throw begins with a dart.
Nice. Very,
Says
very poignant.
I play that game.
I like the fact that Gary is now using his chips. You know, since he got some chips, he has actually started making some moves. He gave a little bit of a physical reaction to the call there from Phil. Didn't look like he really liked it.
Well, this pot's big. I mean, this pot has gotten very big. And, you know, gosh, I think either player could win this. McConnell's obviously got the best hand, but he's not exactly over the moon with the king out there, is he? Oh, that's the play for the power!
Brilliant,
My God! How strong is that? How strong is that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Phil hasn't shown many hands where he didn't have the goods.
Gary looks like he's been hit by a bazooka.
And Phil would be delighted with that reaction from Gary. There's no insta-call with the king. There's nothing but pain on his face.
Well, he has to sit here and think about this. Now, in Gary's mind, would Phil have done it with a king? He thinks he would have, and the power has got that through on the strength of his right arm.
Oh, that's it. I mean, and those are the sort of moves that are going to take down those big pots, and that's massive, up to nearly 5,000 now.
That's just class. That was forceful. He's not playing around. He's been saving that one up all game long.
You feel for Gary. You know, he waited. Got some chips. He's been using them wisely. He's not been passive since he got chips. But that was a lovely move from Phil.
Tell you what, that would have made a professional poker player quake in their boots. That all in.
I mean, of course, it is dangerous. There's no reason to think Gary isn't raising up with a hand that contains a king, but it's just a lovely bit of timing from Phil. Again, set mining. He's had so many of these small pocket pairs.
I think he might have another plan in mind for Jason Brennan.
No raise.
I think he might. I wonder. Phil may have put that car into second gear. Question. This is going to be interesting flop. I mean, oh, wow. I was going to say Phil might want to bet more flops than he checks, but he's obviously checking this one.
Yeah. And look, he gives a big sigh.
Check.
And if Brennan can escape from this without losing chips, he is a Houdini.
Well, we know. I mean, you know.
Check.
Nobody could pass up this opportunity to bet.
Well, these are the sort of opportunities before that Jason has just never let pass through.
You'd have to be Amish to check here.
Phil is doing his best to look totally, like, disgusted at the quality of the board.
I think he's doing pretty good. Wow, Brennan's got away from it. And now Taylor's going to bet this river, hoping to get paid off.
Yeah, I think that's a good card. You can bet it and hope that a curious heart...
500.
Oh, 500 then. Oh, I don't like it, but go on then. Just praying that Jason either has a heart and has to look him up, or has a bigger heart and wants to push back. I mean, he's hit the queen at the end, but that shouldn't be an incentive enough. Queens and kings, the 7's not a great kicker.
He can beat all bluffs.
You know, it feels like Phil would do well here to actually give him a bit of chat. Because, you know, Jason, I think, has got a little bit of swagger going on there. Is that
he's king? Did you get your flush? What did you do? That's a bowl move. You've been doing that 500 move all day. I'm going to call you because I want to look at you.
Oh. See? Brilliant. Show him the flop full house.
Queens and kings. Oh. Did not have you on that.
Why did he?
Nice hand,
I'm amazed that Phil got paid off, but that's the problem. Is Jason's the sort of player that can self-destruct and do this to himself.
I understand what Jason's saying. You've been doing that all day, you have, Phil Taylor. I just wanted to see what you were playing with.
The next time you'll know. Don't bother. Don't even try it on me next time.
I'm hoping you get that flush. That's what I think he gets when I'm out.
No, you've done the right bet.
Hope
You've
he's
done
got
the
ace
same
or
bet
heart,
you've been
yeah.
doing.
You know what? I mean, Brennan's played well, but he's realizing now that when a man's got 14 world titles in one discipline, it means he knows how to do everything.
Probably not good enough. Got so many chips.
Pass.
That's enough for That's what Gary was waiting for. If there's something to wait for, that's what you wait for. And Jelle just realized, and he's got live cards. Is it too little, too late?
Oh, I know this is tricky, but I think Oh, that's a tricky one, but I think strategically, considering how tight Gary has been,
Well, he has to
I
call.
think you...
It's just too big a hand. It's only 500. I mean,
Oh,
you just
500.
cannot fold.
Oh,
I mean,
right. Oh, that's crazy. I forgot how low these guys got. Oh, yeah, no, you call.
I mean, obviously, if...
And you call, and you're going to see all 5 cards, so you call it.
Honestly, even if Gary flipped his 2 cards over, I think Phil would still have to call.
You're absolutely right. I forgot the fact that Phil was the big blind obviously meant he already had an investment.
We've got 2 players all in. Now, you can see by the odds, McConnell a favorite to more than double up, but that doesn't mean weird things can't happen. And if Taylor wins this pot, we're going to be heads up. This doesn't happen too often. It's like a blue moon here. This is like checking out 120. There's the 9! Oh, there's a 6 as well.
The trips for Yellow. Well, there'll be a side pot, obviously, because Yellow is so low in chips.
That's exactly what's going on here. It could be Gary McConnell out, Klaasen tripling up, and Taylor getting the side pot. If it holds, that's what'll happen. That has not helped McConnell. It gives him an out for a jack still.
Jack.
Yeah, because it'd be aces full of 9s for Phil if an ace came down.
And
Nice hand.
aces and 9s, McConnell is out. Phil is going to get the side pot, and Klaasen is going to triple up. They're going to have to count this out to see. That was something.
Yeah, and you kind of just wonder if that proves the point to Yellow that maybe doing this a bit earlier on, it doesn't have to be great. Queen 6, not incredible, but you've got to get in it to win it.
McConnell is just waiting to see how this happens. Basically, though, he is out.
Aces and 9s. You've only got aces and 6s.
Yep.
So he takes the second pot, okay.
Yep.
Unfortunate. I mean, Gary McConnell gave it a good run. He didn't get many cards, Matt. I'll remember that move he made with the deuces. That was something special.
Yeah, and fantastic. You know, when he finally got some chips, he was prepared to make raises. He was prepared to try and take pots down, but it just never really came around his way.
You don't see this often. A double all-in, a triple all-in, basically. Now, Taylor had more than McConnell, who had more than Klaasen. Klaasen wins the pot, the main pot, with a full house. But Taylor, winning the side pot, takes McConnell out.
I didn't get many hands. It was real tough. And I was trying to be patient, but with the blinds, I was just, my chips were dwindling down, and that's where I was at. So when I started to get some good hands, I tried to get aggressive and doubling up a couple of times. But you got to get hands to win. That's the bottom line, and that's where I was at today.
No Klaasen's looking for cards. For his sake, you gotta hope there's 2 pictures in this story, and there we go, baby. Get him in there! Now, the second part of this picture for Klaasen is Jason finding something to call with. That looks nice. Yeah, this is an unbelievable turn of events for the Dutchman. Yeah, he's not liking it.
But, I mean, you can't really be that surprised. I mean, I guess you can be if you want to be, but, I mean, what makes you think Jelle's going to be making that move with Queen 7 or Jack 4? You know, he's folded so many cards when he should have been playing. You've got to expect something pretty big there.
Ace 10's a massive hand, 3-handed, isn't it, though, Matt? I mean...
Yeah, but again, in context...
He's got plenty of outs here. Jason Brennan against Klaasen. Any heart or any king. Anything else, and it's a double up. It's a 10 and a heart.
Wow.
Well,
done it. Job done. I mean, wow.
Cheers, thank you.
There, mate,
I'm sure Phil was kind of conflicted when he saw that the hands up against each other, but his head's up now.
Look at that last hand again. I mean, I think Jason just had it in his mind. You just can't be folding Ace 10 3-handed. Either way, sometimes you have the worst hand and you still suck out.
That's the problem for Jelle. He waited a really long while for a hand he liked. He's still lost, and that is poker, I'm afraid.
5 hearts make floosh.
This is the second time that I played in 2 years, so I didn't do that bad. And Phil is a good player, so I don't mind that he's still in. And as a as an other dart player, I hope he's gonna win.
If you could cast your mind back to 1990, Phil Taylor, an unheralded player, making his first appearance in the World Championships and succeeding at 125-1, seeing off Eric Bristow. That's how Jason Brennan must feel right now, up against the man. Coming in here, he's done very well so far, but until he can defeat Phil Taylor, he cannot go to the final table.
Yeah, this must be a real dream come true. But I mean, these two guys, they've got their very different ways. You know, Jason really creative, really aggressive, really powering on, whereas Phil has just sat back, picked his spots, selective aggression. You know, he made the best of the passive table earlier on to see lots of flops with various hands, and when he connected, he extracted the maximum chips, and no real surprise to see these two guys heads up at the final here.
Jason Brennan has succeeded at this table. He has seen off all those other players, but I don't know if he solved Phil Taylor yet. Taylor beat him in a couple of pots, and I just wonder what his plan is for this hump.
Well, you know, heads up, it's if anything is going to drain your mental resources, it's heads up. Because you can't let hands go by on a full table, let hands go by, pick your spots here. You've got to be involved a lot. And I just wonder if Jason has got the mental resources to not let a couple of, you know, if Phil wins two hands in a row, will that just make Jason fall apart?
Very, very nice bet by Jason Brennan. He checked the flop. Taylor could have bet the turn. He didn't. And Jason said, I ain't checking twice. I don't care who I'm playing. I'll have that.
No, both these players, very, very sharply tuned instincts. As soon as there's an opportunity, they're not going to let it go by. They'll let one check go by. A second check, bang, straight in.
And all of a sudden, you know, there's a little play in the stack. Not a tremendous amount. I mean, Phil only has, 14 big blinds or so. Jason's got a couple thousand lead.
Check.
Check.
And it's all going to come down, Matt, to who wins those pots when both players miss, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the same as throughout the main section of the game. Just there's going to be a lot of pots that no one really likes the connection of their hand.
Out of turn, sorry.
But it's bottom pair for Brennan. Now, Taylor's checked out of turn.
Sorry.
If Brennan may be able to work out, well, he was ahead. He's not ahead anymore.
Check.
Check.
500.
No, I think there's a mistake there from Jason. You know, heads up. If you connect, then you've got to decide what best to do. And I think especially on that board, you soon find out if you're not ahead.
Queen or 4. Taylor's still ahead. And Phil may be willing. They may be willing to take a cheap showdown. This is a really creative bet by Jason Brennan. Very, very creative. And now he's got Taylor off the best hand.
Fantastic, fantastic stuff. You know, he missed an opportunity from the flop, but the call scared Phil, and then he moved in for the kill on the river.
He is raising his game. Blind still 2 and 400. There hasn't been that much chip movement since the heads up started. The chip movement that has been sort of a slow stream to Brennan. This is trappy, and if Brennan tries something here,
Check.
there's a good escape.
Yeah, this worked well with Phil in the majority of the game, just seeing lots of flops with the pairs. I think heads up, though, actually, you need to shift into a more aggressive pose.
And this is a great little bet here. It's sort of a semi-bluff. And, I wonder what, you know, Phil... Wow, what a great... That's a great, great raise. That is a great pickup. And the only problem is it may not have been enough. Jason says, hey, I've got a jack out. Now... the 8 or the 9, though they'll make Jason the winning hand, if he hits it and Phil bets again, he's still going to have to fold. So this is really a question about Phil's initiative right now. Does Phil want to power...
I'll
call.
No way!
Wow.
No way! He called instantly. He felt something. How can you make a call like that? And yet Brennan still got outs.
He's still got outs. I mean, I don't know why Phil was so quick to go for that.
Well, he was right. He must have felt it.
Yeah.
It's not only the 8 or the 9, the Jack or the Queen will also give Brennan the trip to the final.
Well done.
He's hit it! He hit the straight on the river.
Well done, Phil. Thank you.
Well done, fella. Do I go?
Phil Taylor caught him bluffing, but Jason Brennan, he got the out. He got out of it. What an incredible finish.
Wow, it's a dream result. I mean, it was a messy last hand, but he had outs, and that was one of them. He must feel amazing.
Talk about hitting the double tops on the river. The Jack in the belly for Jason Brennan. Qualified on the internet, saw off dart heroes and superstars, and Phil Taylor in the end.
It was absolutely amazing. The adrenaline's still pumping through me. It was hot in there as well. And I was trying to wipe the sweat from my brow. It was just such a beautiful experience. I loved it. I can't wait to get back into that final. I'd play the final right now if I could. Right now.
Leaving the table, not winning, I'm gutted. I'm absolutely gutted. But it's not the end of the world. We'll play the next one and see if we can win the next one.
Next time, it'll be high octane in our motor racing heat. Famous names like Fisichella and Villeneuve vie for pole position in a race to the final table.